Here
Are
we
we on? Oh,
go.
it says we're live. We're good to
We're
go.
live.
Let me make sure it's showing up on the page. Here we go. Yep, cool. We're live. Welcome, everybody. It's your two favorite people, James Wightman and Ellie Aaron. I'm interviewing Ellie today on creating great relationships in business. So Ellie is someone that I have admired for a very long time in business. Also, she's my partner. And she is amazing at meeting people and becoming friends with them and it creating opportunities and clients and referrals in her life. And so I thought, what better way to help you than to interview her and just ask her questions to help you get started and create awesome relationships. So Ellie, the love of my life, I'm going to let you introduce yourself, all the details of where people can find you as well. And yeah, let's start there.
Thanks, my love. Thanks for having me. Hi, everybody. Hello to James's community and the people that know both of us and the people that may not know me. My name is Ellie, and I'm a soulful sales coach for women, mostly women in business who are service-based, who have purpose-driven businesses. I help them fall in love with sales and just the sales process and making money and being visible online and attracting dream clients and all those things. And my journey of growth, I started out as a yoga teacher and meditation teacher, and did that for many years, didn't make tons of money, and transitioned into making more and more money that way and health coaching. And then a few years ago, I partnered with a friend of mine and we grew her company to $500,000 in 6 months. That was primarily done through me as being head of sales. And now I coach women and just humans and help them feel more confident in sales and in attracting clients and building beautiful relationships with business and just in general. So thanks for having me, my love.
Yeah, absolutely. What a wonderful intro. And in case people want to find you and your site, where should they go?
EllieAaron.com. And guess who helped me with that site? This man right here.
This guy. Perfect. So, the main premise of all of this is to really help people understand how to create, really authentic, real relationships, especially among entrepreneurs. In my experience, what a lot of people see is go to networking events, connect with as many people as possible. And a lot of the relationships that I see that entrepreneurs have, they aren't very deep. They're very, some of it's collaborative, but it's not a lot of like real authentic connection. And so as you, someone who really has that authentic connection with people, if you were talking to someone and let's say they're an entrepreneur, maybe they aren't online a lot, or they don't feel like they have a large community and they're wanting to build just powerful relationships, how would you advise them to start to really get out there?
Yeah, so I think one of the most important things about building authentic relationships is being authentic. Like, I know that sounds like, well, duh, but like the more authentic you can be, and like, meaning you're not trying to get something from anybody, you're not trying to, I think that's the main thing, is like, you're not trying to get something from anybody. You're genuinely just wanting to connect and share yourself and build just a connection. And so the way that I feel like I've naturally been able to build relationships and business partnerships and just collaborative connections, and fruitful connections, both in business and in life, is to, just have this genuine curiosity of wanting to get to know someone. Like, if there's, for example, if I go to an event, a party, if I go to I know you're talking about networking events is not like the way, but if you do end up finding yourself in a room of entrepreneurs or in a room of humans, anytime there's human beings in a group of people, you actually have a huge opportunity to position yourself as someone who's a leader, as someone who can be helpful, and just as someone to know. And I feel like I go to those experiences and those events, and just like even just like at a coffee shop, even with like just an open heart and just a willingness to just want to get to know people, play, like ask questions without an agenda. And actually I think you're good at this too. Like you know, when we're out and about, like you're great at connecting with people, and it's just genuine, just like, hey, here's a human, and like kindness, curiosity, and a genuine desire to actually want to get to know someone works magic.
Cool. So in my perspective, there's a lot to unpack there.
Okay.
Because I think you've seen where I originally started, and I think I'm going to assume others who feel like they want to grow in this connection and relationships are starting in similar areas. Maybe they overthink or have a tendency to just believe the thoughts that come up. And I think that was wonderful what you shared. One of the things that can come up for people in that process, right? When you said, well, be authentic, be sincere, not trying to get anything. There's this other part of the brain, other part of us that's like, well, the reason that I'm doing this is because I want clients, or I do want a friend, or I do want opportunities. So there can be a little element of that guilt, or that feeling like, well, this is why I'm doing it. I do want something out of there. What would you say to someone who's experiencing that and really helping them uncouple that element of, yeah, I'm doing this because I do want something out of it, and how do I balance it without, that premise of trying to get something? How do you differentiate those two?
Yeah, two things. So the first piece is the leading sort of energy is like openness, curiosity, and just like love. Like that's the leading energy at which to like create those connections. Now, in the background, if there is a part of you that's like, well, I want this person to be my client, I potentially want to partner with this person, I want whatever it is, that can be in the background, like that can be a desire, but that's not what's like leading it, especially in business. Like what leading it can be like, how can I be helpful? How can I be curious about this person? How can I ask questions that, everyone likes to be asked questions and to be heard and to be seen. So that's one piece. The second piece is actually one of the things in your new program that you're going to teach about is HILA, right? High intention, low attachment.
Right. Yep.
We have this, this new
Ode to Brad Newman.
Yes, ode to Brad Newman. We love you, Brad. Like the piece of non-attachment. So it's not like I'm only talking to this person because I want them to close or I want something out of it. Like HILA, my intention is to be helpful. My intention is to be of service. My intention is to connect. And then it's a lower attachment to, well, what can we create out of this? And like, what do I get out of it? Which ends up coming to the surface naturally, because when you form deeper connections with people, there's naturally going to want to be a reciprocity to the relationship. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that's wonderful. I think that makes a lot of sense. Now, if we're, looking in the sense of, right, just like everything's digital now, and people are just starting to really go to more events, do those things. I imagine it can feel a little more complicated in terms of online, right? I operate off the premise that everyone, all that you could want in your life, you pretty much have available now, whether it's your family, your friends, or just people that are already connected to online. Do you have any recommendations for how to bring that energy of that intention to connecting with those people. I know for you, some of that has been participating in other groups. How do you walk a person through that of just next steps, right? They're seeing this intention, they're seeing other people. Is there a way that you would recommend they reach out, or how their mindset should be when they're reaching out? Of just, what would next steps look like?
Of creating genuine connections online?
Yeah.
So I think a few months ago when I joined a program of one of my coaches, I reached out to like everyone in the community there, and I was like, hey, like, let's connect. Like, it was very much like, hey, let's connect. Like, that was it. It wasn't like, hey, let's connect so you can hire me, or hey, let's connect so whatever, you can eventually become a person in my pipeline. It wasn't like, hey, let's connect so I can like invite you to my group. Like, it was a genuine like, hey, you're a fellow entrepreneur, let's connect. That was it, and it was like, hey, I like really love getting to know new humans, like would love to connect, virtual coffee date. Let me know if that's something that you're interested in, with like no attachment of whether they said yes or not.
Yeah.
Like literally like none. I sent like, I think maybe, 30 of those messages.
Yeah.
Maybe. And then one of those people ended up hiring me to be like, a closer for them for a little bit, just for fun. And I enjoyed it and ended up working with her for a little bit. So there's like, I think I sent voice memos to each person, so they felt like, oh, I'm just like, this is me. And it's literally like, I don't know at what point in school this shifted for me, but I was the shy kid at maybe middle school and a little bit of high school. At some point, I think it's when I started meditating more, there was a level of just comfort of connecting with others and just not having much social anxiety. And now I don't really feel that anymore. I mean, sometimes it's still a little bit, but mostly I just don't feel that anymore. And I just enjoy connecting with people. And so, just like this feeling of like, I'm going to be in whatever room I'm in, I'm going to make myself known. Whatever room I'm in, whether it's like a digital room or a non-digital room, like I'm going to connect with people and want to form like connections. Does that make sense? It's like, and I think with online in terms of marketing, there's like both like there's the bat signal of like, here's what I offer, here's what I do, here's my magic. Like, that's one energy that I do. And the other is like just genuine reach outs to people who I want to form deeper relationships with. And most of the time people are receptive. And if they're not receptive, I don't take it personally at all. And I'm like, they're busy, it's all good. Like, I just don't give it much thought.
Okay. That's amazing. I want to unpack some more stuff there. Because I think the anxiety that you mentioned is important, and people who that doesn't necessarily come natural to, of the reaching out and having those conversations and those relationships. There's a lot that can happen for them on the other side. I know that it happened for me. There's an element of, the what if they don't like me? Or what I think people don't really talk about is, well, what if I don't like them? People don't really talk about that. I think when others have a natural inclination to talk to others and connect, they're able to just say like, oh, you know what? Didn't really hit it off with them. For people that are very cerebral and think and very tactical, it can almost be like, I'm reaching out to these people. I want to try and make the relationships work. Maybe I'm supposed to follow up a certain amount of time to try and make the relationship work. Well, what if I'm meeting these people? What happens if I don't like them? Am I a bad person for not connecting with them? So these are all like the nuances that I think happen in between. And so as something becomes more of a normal, it of course just becomes more natural. But when it's not normal for them and they're having these questions, what would you advise them? What's like the mindset that they want to think, or what would you do if you meet someone and, online there's naturally, even in entrepreneurial groups, there's people that are a little cuckoo, a little crazy. It's true. I don't think people really talk about that element. But there's people that we don't vibe with. And so
are we cuckoo?
What'd you say?
Are we cuckoo?
We might be the cuckoo ones. So we can just keep saying that word, right? We might be the cuckoo ones, and everyone's like, they're a little out there. What would you say when relationships feel really complicated to them, and they're trying to understand balancing their own emotions and also just building these connections? Because I used to feel that I had to follow up with a lot of people, and I realized, I can just like connect with someone every few months or something, and that's still okay. I'll let you take it away, since I just broke down a whole bunch of anxieties.
So I think something to accept and have peace with for all of us for the rest of our life is there's going to be people that we resonate with at certain times, and there will be people who we don't resonate with at other times. And maybe like someone who you used to like not like and be like triggered by now is someone who you're like, ooh, I actually like them and want to get to know them more. So relationships and human beings are so dynamic, and like who we are shifts throughout time as well. And so just to be okay with if there's someone that you've connected with and maybe started forming a connection with, and then maybe you just don't connect with them as much anymore, and that being okay. Or just like the piece around, I don't have to be best friends with everybody. That doesn't mean I can't form some fruitful connection here that can lead to something positive, whether it's like a referral partner or, they may be a good person and have good values, but maybe really struggling in an area of their life. That doesn't mean that, we have to ride them off completely, or they have like weird things going on. Like, I don't know, we're all super, super dynamic. So whatever's triggering us about somebody or whatever we don't like, we just get to have curiosity and be like, why am I like turned off by something here? How can I still find the good in this person? How can I still, find value in this connection without needing to be like absolute best friends forever? Does that make sense? So there's two. The first thing is about like being okay that some people aren't going to like us and some people are going to love us, and being at peace that we're going to like some people and some people we can just like, send unconditional love to them as just a human, because that's always helpful. But certain things that they do or certain behaviors that they have may not align with our views.
You may not want to spend time with them. I mean, I think even though you and I connect with people all day long, I think, the truth of the matter is I'll speak for myself. If I were really to look, I probably have, just a few best friends. I think sometimes people have the idea that there needs to be a lot of friends. And so I think just almost differentiating that there's some people that, we're really close with, and some people that we enjoy having conversations with throughout the day. And there's different types there. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. I think it's natural for human relationships to bring up stuff, and
all the time.
And the willingness to look at our own triggers and look at our own stuff and just be able to move through it more and more quickly and not take things personally is sort of like the magic sauce, because every human we're going to interact with is going to have their own subjective experience.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean that you, just because you're feeling something or there's a trigger in relationship to someone else, it doesn't mean that you always have to work on that thing, right? Because I could totally see someone who's very spiritual being like, or just people in general. I think I used to operate out this way. Oh, there's a trigger. I have to work on this. So when I interact with humans, nothing's going to come up. And so, yeah, I think there's an element in there of, just because you have something come up doesn't mean that you have to work on it. It's just, like you said, acknowledging it and debating whether maybe I don't want to spend more time with this person, or I don't want a deeper connection. Yeah.
100%. 100%. Yeah. And it's interesting because I think friendships can lead to business partnerships and collaboration and referral partners and all of that. But also business relationships can lead to friendships. And so it's like, the web, it's like the two are connected and like there's overlaps there.
Yeah.
And yet, like, we don't have to be best friends with people that we're creating business connections with either.
Right. Yeah.
It's really interesting. This is really interesting. I mean, I think the question to ask, I think sometimes, is like, what do I actually admire about this person? Because the more that we can start to like see what we admire about people versus like, what isn't working, what is the judgment? Not that judgment is bad. Like, we all need discernment around the people that are in our life, but the more that we can bring like appreciation that they're a human being going through their own human experience with their challenges and also their strengths, the more that we can just like kind of soften around it all. Does that make sense?
Yeah, really the process of relating and taking it less personally, seeing that the relating will shift in a lot of different ways. So now that we've worked through all the anxieties,
gone forever,
and so this person is reaching out, and you gave some recommendations on how to just reach out and connect, which it's really that simple, right? It's people. I think of when people are dating and they're like, oh, how do I go up to the person? How do I do these things? And it's like, oh, you go up and you say hello. And so similarly online, it's like you said, you were just saying, who wants to connect, or really you just connecting with them and asking a question to get to know them. Yeah. So walk us through, what it'd be like, you send the message and then give like a little narration of like what happens from there, or how do you see that progressing?
It's funny. I'm like, let me just like look at my phone and look at like the messages I've sent.
Go for it.
I feel like I'll be like, yeah, I don't even know. It's like, I'm step by step. We're wanting step by step. But yeah, so I'll be like, hey, would love to connect further. Yeah, it looks like we're both a part of this in this community. Would love to learn more about you and just connect. Let me know if you're open to that. Some people are like, yes, absolutely. Some never respond, and some people just like are like, well, I don't really want to chat or whatever. Like, I'm busy. Like, allowing for any and all responses to be okay is like a really magic sauce. Does that make sense? Yeah.
It does. And I'd like to share a differentiator here, which I think is actually really, really important, is you're connecting with people. And most people are not trained in like the expert way to do things. Because I think when we're originally looking at connecting with people, it's almost like an element of, oh, I want to connect with the important people or the popular people in entrepreneurship. And so, then people go into, well, the best way to get their attention is to do this thing, and you want to, really stand out. And so they're trying to craft this perfect thing. And I think there's elements of that that are important. Ultimately, though, I think it's good to see that most everyone is human, not expertly trained. And so chances are sending just a normal connection message, like you said, allowing for all of it. The people that are open to that see it for what it is, that it's a connection, and they're wanting to connect. And there can be a lot of opportunity that emerges from that even though you don't see them as like this, like, head honcho standout person on Instagram or entrepreneurship or whatever it is, they still have connections. They still have opportunities, and they still probably are very successful in their own right. And yeah, I think they don't have to overthink the message and the connection.
Definitely. Yeah. And whenever I reach out, what are you laughing at?
Oh, just as I'm talking, you're like, yeah. Like, oh, maybe she thinks differently. Yeah.
Well, no, I think part of sure, I definitely think differently on certain things, I'm sure. I think part of the reach outs is like, why the way that I think about it is like, they'd want to connect with me because I'm awesome. Like, there's like, whenever I'm doing the reach outs, it's like, hey, like it's like, hey, do you want to play? Like when kids are like, hey, do you want to play?
Yeah.
And like they go up to like the other kid in the class and they're like, hey, do you want to like play with like, this, like, you want to play ball? And the person's like, no. And they're like, okay, hey, Susie, do you want to play? Like, it's that energy to it. Like, where like, oh, I'm like, I got
you got a game that you're ready to play yourself. Who wants in? Yeah.
Exactly. Versus like, I want something from them.
Right, which is almost like, I wanted to play a game of kickball and this person said no, so the kickball game is not happening. Instead of right, like the approach you were talking about, hey, I want to play kickball. You want to play? No, okay. You want to play? Like, the kickball is the highest game. It's happening no matter what. Like, you're gonna have friends and connections and entrepreneurship no matter what. No matter who's in or who's out, you're making sure it's happening.
That's right. Exactly.
Although that is an interesting premise, that you're able to just be like, I'm awesome. Who wouldn't want to connect with me? I don't know if everyone is running with that. So what do you see makes that possible for you to think like, oh, I'm awesome. Like they would want to connect with me? Because I think some of us can, see other people doing these different things and think, my business isn't where theirs is at, or I'm not as far along in my journey, or I don't know as much. Yeah, share more there.
Well, the whole idea of like, I belong in every room that I'm in. Like, I belong here. Like, my body belongs here. My heart belongs here. Like, I belong is a very helpful premise, because it's like, oh, I can find home wherever I'm at, especially
also like, belonging is more like home.
Yeah, like I can feel comfortable and I can find home wherever I'm at. I actually think a big part of being with you has helped me create that feeling within myself, just like as having you as my partner in my love and in life. But but it's like each human being has inherent value. And you, whoever's listening, you, James, you have immense value and who you are as a human. And whoever's listening here has immense value as a human being, and skills and gifts and talents. So when you come into a space, or when you connect with someone, when you just remember that that's inherently there, like your worthiness is inherently there, it naturally attracts people to you.
Yeah. And so it sounds like this sense of belonging isn't the concept of everyone wants me here. It's more of a, like I have a place here.
Yes.
I'm able to create a, not even necessarily confidence, but almost like like you use the word home. Like I can find peace and value and intention where I'm at, and I have something to contribute.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
I just picture someone in like a stranger's house being like, I belong here.
I'm just thinking of the person that we drive by.
I didn't understand a word you said.
I'm thinking when we drive to Wigman's and we drive by the person who does the VR glasses.
So we'll do a little side note here. Ellie got me an Oculus. Well, my family got me an Oculus with Ellie for my birthday. And so I'm finding different games, and not a lot of people have them yet. At least I don't think. And so there's a store that we travel to almost every day. And Ellie's like, there's a guy in the window. I'm like, what are you talking about? So we stop. He's gotten Oculus on, and he's moving his arms and his hands and all those things. And I was like, oh, I wonder what game he's playing. Ellie's like, we can stop. We can ask him. My being is like, what are you talking about? You're just going to go up to a stranger's door and be like, hey, saw you're playing the Oculus. What game are you playing? What games do you recommend? So we're about to make, friends with this like 17-year-old playing in his family's house. So this is an amazing skill that you have, right? That you're able to just do that. And I think it's something that starts to happen more naturally. You also had me thinking of when we were in New York City and there's a guy playing a song, blasting it from his car. And like, I wonder what music that is, because the Shazam or whatever wasn't picking it up. And you're like, got the window open from the 4th floor. You're like, what song is that? And he doesn't hear you, so you yell louder. And he finally stops and he's like, it's Tropicana. And so you two are having a conversation. I'm like, totally new on my end. So what do you think? Clearly there's this idea of belonging. Where do you feel like what makes that you breaking that almost barrier? And obviously you have like a performance background. So I feel like there's an element, but I think even when people first have performance, there's still like this invisible barrier where they're able to either speak to things or just really make themselves known without those other concerns. Or maybe it's not without the other concerns. It's just that premise of allowing all of
it. 2 things. Number 1, I learned it from my mama. If anyone knows my mom is just like, she just can talk to anybody, and she's just, there's a big confidence that she has, that she just like can just go make friends with anyone, or just like talk to anyone and just have like literally start a conversation with anyone with her own agenda of what she wants to happen. She just has that quality to her, so yeah. Probably some element of that, and that's like a really powerful quality to have.
Yeah.
Secondly, I think there's just this idea that we're all living these separate lives.
Yeah.
We're all these, like, we live in these like little bubbles, like walking around like reality, and like we're all separate.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, it's all freaking made up, because the truth
Yeah.
is, like, we're all connected. If, like, giving the example of New York City, if someone is sitting, 5 feet away from you in a subway cart and they let out a huge fart or something big happens, like, everyone's going to be impacted by that,
Impact, a very spiritual word for a fart. Yes.
So the thing is that we're literally much more connected than we give ourselves credit for as human beings. And when you realize that, like, there's nothing stopping you from, like, going up to the person and creating a connection or sending the message online, like, we're all connected. They're like, the barriers are invisible. They're
Right.
invisible.
They're mental. Yeah.
They're mental. Yeah. And they only exist within ourselves. And when you realize that, like, actually Elon Musk could sit here, and I'm sure we'd have something to teach him about love.
Yeah.
Trump could, like, whoever could sit here who, quote, has like a lot of the things that, maybe deemed successful. And I'm sure there's some value that we could provide in the conversation to them in their life.
Right.
So when you see yourself as valuable in different areas, you can look at the fact that whoever you're speaking with is human, is going through challenges, is even though they have success maybe in different, or like real success in different areas that you deem are like incredible, they're still a human being has challenges. And so the more that we like remove these invisible or mental barriers, like you were saying, the more that it's like, I have value, I get to speak and connect with whoever if they choose to connect back with me, because I have value as a human and they're valuable. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So there's two things it makes me think of. Number one, don't feel that you belong so much that you can just let one rip. However, know that you belong and have value, no matter who you're speaking with. And so actually, I think this brings up a really great thing that I know I dealt with in the past. Is I'm glad it's going to be a fun interview. So there's this element of, having to provide value and contributing, which I think can bring up for others. I know it used to bring up for me, is almost like the best. Well, they may be the best at this thing, and I'm not the best at this thing. And so I think something that you had to share on that before was, it's not that it's the best. It's just what you do have to provide has value in and of itself. And people accept and receive those in a lot of different ways. So, a lot of entrepreneurs online, right? It's very much promotion, Instagram and Facebook and a lot of those things. That's not my natural inclination. So me even doing these interviews and stuff, that's something that I personally, had to work through and saying, well, they might do it this way. Yeah. And so you were able to share that, I create a lot of clients offline, right? Just from the conversations and connections, which we're sharing here. And so you saying that even though someone else might say, hey, that's not the way to do this, or this way is a better way, still seeing, right, that there's value to be provided for those that are open. And typically those that are successful or growth oriented, who we want to surround ourselves with, pick up on that, and they see those things and they derive that. So what would you say to someone that might be thinking, I do these things. I do have value to provide, but I feel like in comparison to others, maybe it's not the best. But they do have their own experience. What would you say to them so they're able to start where they're at?
Your best is the best for someone else.
Mm-hmm.
And their best is the best for someone else. I don't know if that makes sense, but like we're all valuable to someone.
Yeah.
And we all are, quote, the best person for someone. So even if we're talking to someone who's, quote, like the best at something and really, really highly successful, we're also the best for someone else at a given time. Does that make sense? Like,
I think so.
It's subjective. The best is subjective.
Yep. Yeah. So it's very subjective, and really, I think what helps a person is this element of looking at their own experience and their own discoveries and deriving that rather than comparing what they know to somebody else. Is that fair?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll leave it out to the jury. We'll see. Cool. So, we've walked people through these elements. They've worked through some of the hangups. They've reached out to someone. They're messaging some people. Some people have said, "Yeah, I'll connect." Some people have said no. And they're feeling more confidence for the people that they are connecting with. How would you advise them what does a conversation look like of just purely connecting? Because I think there's this element of, again, in the background, I'm really doing this because I want better relationships. I want more opportunities. I would like some clients. And I also don't want to be like forcing this or feeling like I'm just in it to get something out of it. And I don't want them to feel that way. What would a conversation look like that almost, holds all of that in a way that they can show up sincerely and others can feel that sincerity? Because I've seen you participate in programs, you connect, and I'll be like, "Oh, what happened on the call?" And you're like, "Yeah, this is happening in their life, and they have a family around here, and here's what they're up to." And then all of a sudden, magically, people felt the sincerity, and they're like, "Hey, Ellie, do you want to close for me? Or do you want to present for this thing?" Like, it wasn't the agenda, but it's almost like your sincerity kept you in mind for what was present, kept you on their mind for what was present. Yeah, share a little more. I think it can feel different for people as they pursue that. So what would the conversation look like?
I think curiosity. How are you? Like, just like genuine curiosity. I love asking people questions.
Yeah.
I love it. I'll be like, how's this going? How's this going? And everyone wants to be listened to. Everyone wants to be heard. Most people like talking about themselves. So,
and
yeah.
How would you describe curiosity? Because I used to think curiosity, like there was a book that I think I read in maybe second grade. I think it was called Nate the Great. And on the picture, it always had like a guy with like a magnifying glass and really curious. And so I get the sense that there's different types of curiosity, right? Just the pure exploration can be curiosity, even if it doesn't feel like, ooh, let me go check out this dessert. It's more like, oh, I'm exploring this, or I'm talking to this person. How would you describe it?
It's that second piece that you were just saying, like, oh, like that's the vibe of it. Hi, yeah. Oh yeah, I'm curious. Tell me a little bit more about that. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah.
Like that sort of energy.
Yeah. And what would a conversation look like? Is you're curious and you're connecting with someone. How long are the conversations? What types of questions do you ask?
I mean, everyone wants to talk about if they're an entrepreneur, like everyone wants to talk about how their business is and how it's doing, usually.
Mm-hmm.
Even if they're having challenges around it, like it's nice to share.
Yeah.
Or if it's successful and flourishing. What are the main things that people care about in life? Relationships, family, health, like values. I'll ask people like what's important to them. Yeah, it's very organic in the fact that it's just, tell me a little bit more about who you are. Yeah, it's funny. I'm like, I don't really think about it. It just kind of, it happens more naturally of like talking about the main things, kind of diving right into like the
Yeah.
big things.
And it sounds like, it actually sounds like it's less answers or anything that they need to know. It's simply having some open-ended questions that just open up the conversation, and then that'll create more curiosity.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so what happens at the end of the conversation? You two connected. How do you assess it? Do you invite people to speak again, or do you just say like, it was good to get to know you? What happens from there?
Well, if I enjoyed the conversation and I felt like it was really, like I enjoyed the human, then I'll be like, yeah, let's maybe connect again.
Mm-hmm.
And then potentially we'll set up another time.
Yeah.
Kind of just like sussing out like what sort of synergy there is there. And even if I don't talk to them again, if we still had like a nice deep coffee date, I still feel like they're a person I'm like truly connected to on the internet.
Yeah.
And that feels really good to me. And potentially like, maybe I never talked to them again, but I created a genuine connection that felt good. Like with fellow saleswomen, I'll often do this because it just feels nice to connect with women who are also in sales. And like there was someone a week or two ago that I don't think I'm going to hire her or anything. I don't think she's going to hire me. I don't think there's necessarily going to be like a business synergy there. But I had the idea, maybe I'll create like a group for just women who are in sales, maybe. And if so, then I'll invite her. Like there's no agenda, but I had a really fun time connecting with her. And I just enjoyed speaking with her. And to me, that's value in itself.
Right. So the idea is there's value in and of itself within the conversation.
Yes.
And there's this element of, instead of keeping things shallow, you're being curious, understanding them and their life, and everyone appreciates that sincere connection. They feel more connected, you feel connected. And from that, it creates those more opportunities or those referrals because they felt you in a deeper way, that it's almost like it starts to live on and create its own thing.
Yeah, and I'm like seeing them like post online. I'm like, go lady, go girl, like awesome.
Yeah.
It's like I'm like rooting for them.
Yeah, you got to see that they're a good person and you're there to support them.
Yeah, because I feel like especially online, I feel like we forget that like when we're in a Facebook group, like there's thousands of people there. That's like thousands of human beings.
Yeah.
And it can feel like, oh, this is overwhelming, or like let's actually just look at that each human being here is a human and has something to offer. Yeah, and just like you don't have to connect with everybody. That's also the thing. Like connect.
You don't have to connect with all 1,000.
No, like connect with the people that you're feeling genuinely called to connect with.
Yeah. I think that's beautiful. I think we brought people through just starting from scratch and how to create that and the great relationships that start to form, and it sounds like some of them you meet more, some of them you don't, but ultimately they're creating this whole pool of people that they're connected to in some way, and that's where all the opportunities and everything emerges.
Always.
Is there anything that we're missing, or anything that you'd like to leave people with?
When you like you, and when you like who you are and what you offer and just who you are as a human, it doesn't mean it doesn't sometimes sting if people don't like you, but it matters much less. And that really, I feel like what we're really looking for in connecting with others is to feel connected to ourselves as well. And when we can feel connected to ourselves and show up online with that energy, that shifts things. That shifts how the experience is. And I remember when I used to be online and it didn't feel embodied. I know like we throw this word around a lot, but I feel like I just kind of like showed up and didn't, didn't feel connective. So it took me time to really figure out like, oh, how do I show up as a version of me here in this medium? And now I feel really, really good online. I feel, not all the time, of course, but in most of the time I feel good.
Yeah.
And I think it comes from like just a deep self-approval of like, I'm okay with whatever happens and I'm here to share and give value and connect with people.
Yeah.
And that changes the experience when you can come from that place.
Yeah, that's great. So yeah, this is it. This is it. Where would you like to share with people next? Do you want to share your social sales group? Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. I did invite a few men into the group recently. I know I invited you obviously a few months ago into the group. Obviously. So it is soulful sales for women, and relationship mastery for women, but anyone can join, anyone who wants to, develop their sales skills, their marketing skills, their online visibility and their presence and attracting clients. So people can join that if they desire. And also my website, ellieaaron.com, which you so brilliantly helped me create.
Beautiful. And yeah, if you are wanting more of these conversations, there is the Momentum Mastery and Money Mindset group. So if you'd like if you'd like to see more of these interviews on creating great relationships in business, we also have a free course in there. If you want to leave your job, if you want to start a side hustle, everything you need to reach 6 figures, yours, full access. My gift to you. So if you'd like that, let me know and I'll get you hooked up with the group.
My love, this freaking course that you've created can make people thousands upon thousands of dollars. Like, y'all, James created this course that he previously sold to a few people. And it literally takes you through the whole foundations of attracting clients, and you're literally offering people this for free if they join your community. Is that correct?
Yep, that's correct. So the idea is the practices that I teach now are actually a little different. And so it doesn't really make sense for this to collect digital dust. It's helped people make thousands. And so if I can have that there and these strategies can help people, we're moving into, we already are in, but we're moving into an entrepreneurial world. People are leaving their jobs or having their own side hustles. And even if you are an entrepreneur who's been in the game a bit, these things can help. And yeah, it's amazing. And so thanks for highlighting that.
Yeah, of course, my love. What is the name of the course? Did you give it a name?
Yep, it's called the Untapped Income Academy.
Okay.
And it'll show you how to use the resources, your skill sets right where you're at. So you can tap into that income that's available to you.
And it's like a whole course that they literally just...
It's a whole course. Everything you need for their business, how to find their niche, how to create connections, how to market it, how to attract clients, how to have a sales conversation, the exact script, how to deliver the course, how to manage your own money as a business owner. It's got it all. Got it all.
Damn.
So I love you. I don't think I'll be saying that to every guest that's here, but maybe. So I love you. Thank you for being here. And thank you, everyone, for watching. Let us know what you got out of this.
Love you too. Thanks, everyone.
You got it. Bye.